So they took account, and it's the Democrat who support the progressive reconciliation strategy. So I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the progressive strategy, which has been endorsed by Pelosi and President Biden, has been to pair the bipartisan infrastructure bill with the larger reconciliation package. Either both pass or neither does. So moving down, the math is straightforward. Democrats have a 4-seat majority in the House. So adding 12 Republicans gives a cushion of 16 votes, meaning if 12 Republicans in the House join the Democrats, they would have a cushion of 16 votes for the bipartisan deal.
And also, Jayapal said to Diane, I believe, and he tweeted this, I don't know if it's in the article, but he tweeted this, that there are more that are just simply not ready to go on record yet. So it should be more than the 17.
I wouldn't say those 17 are firm, but it's encouraging to me. Obviously, within those 17 is the squad. There were other. Oh, actually, you have the clip. Why am I trying to decipher this? Colin, could you play the clip from that sellout Ryan Grimm this morning explaining this?
At The Intercept, we partnered with the American Prospect and the Daily Poster to canvass the Democratic Party and see how many were publicly willing to put their names behind a promise to block that bill until both can move together. And it doesn't take that many. The bipartisan bill, according to Henry Cuellar, is likely to get around 10 to 12 Republicans. Democrats have a 4-seat majority, meaning progressives need somewhere between 14 and 16 people committed to blocking it. Though having a bigger cushion would be smart in case an unexpected number of Republicans support it. Now, as a side note, Pelosi herself has said she wants both moving at the same time, and if she's stuck by that, bringing her leadership team and others in the party, it would be blocked easily. There are also a lot of committee and subcommittee chairs with a lot of incentive to keep the two tracks together. But for the sake of this discussion, let's assume progressives have to make their stand alone. Do they have the numbers? So according to our canvass, only 17 Democratic lawmakers have publicly committed to keeping the legislation tied to the bipartisan infrastructure bill, either in public statements or in comments directly to us. The usual suspects are on the list. AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Ayanna Pressley, Cori Bush, and Jamal Bowman. CPC leaders like Pramila Jayapal, Ro Khanna, Mark Pocan, and Katie Porter are on the list, too. So is progressive veteran Jan Schakowsky and freshman Mondaire Jones, along with Bonnie Watson-Coleman, Ed Perlmutter, and Andy Levin. There are some interesting names, too. Brendan Boyle and Veronica Escobar, for instance, not known as flaming lefties. Some of those names, like Boyle and Escobar and Perlmutter, suggest that the commitment to the two-track strategy is much deeper than just the squad. Pramila Jayapal told me this: there are a lot more, but not everyone is ready to be public. We had the majority of our caucus in our previous whip counts, and we expect the same now. We will release names later if we have to, but I feel confident of our numbers.
17, assuming that could whittle down to 11 or 12. So they need more, I would say, than 17, as Grimm said, a cushion. But to me, this is about more than just this one deal. This is about, can progressives successfully play hardball and block the neoliberal watering down of major legislation that has been going on for the last 30 years? Because make no mistake, the reason that they would get more Republicans to vote for it, Grimm said between 10 and 12 Republicans, the reason they would get more is if it's watered down. Secondly, they would get more on the reconciliation bill. They would get either Manchin or Sinema, the two Republicans who are blocking everything in the Democratic Party. They would probably, they could pass the reconciliation bill totally separate from the bipartisan deal. They wouldn't have to do it together if they severely watered it down to what Manchin probably would want, which is $1 trillion, which is nothing for everything we need. So honestly, at this point, I would rather see them block it than it be watered down to something unconscionable like $1 trillion, devil's advocate might say, well, Jordan, something's better than nothing, but we can't perpetually live under that, because then we're never going to get more. Then we're never going to get more than nothing at a certain point.
3.5 is already watered down dramatically.
Right. Like, there are times when I don't think you take a stand. For example, many people, YouTube hosts, tweeters said, Bernie should have blocked the original COVID deal last year, the CARES Act. He should have blocked it, delayed it, filibustered, whatever. There was a pandemic raging the country. Millions of people were being fired and going on unemployment. This was before eviction protection, so many people were getting evicted. And you want that to be the time that Bernie Sanders and progressives takes a stand, delays, blocks, so that there's a delay in people getting their unemployment. There's a delay in people getting rental relief. There's a delay in food nutrition programs, which is part of that. I mean, that is not the time to do that, in my view. And if you actually care about struggling working people, don't use them as weapons, as collateral damage to take a stand during the beginning of a pandemic. Now we're still in a pandemic, but this is more for larger structural long-term things. Biden and the Democrats have already disgustingly allowed the federal unemployment expansion to expire. They didn't do anything legislatively on the eviction moratorium, which gave the Supreme Court the ability to knock it down. So to me, if progressives can actually stick with it, play hardball, not put up as progress like, oh, we got a meeting with Biden's chief of staff and we have good relations, and say, no, you're not getting anything done if you don't come to our side, the progressives, then I think that's a very, very good thing for the future. Of course, Jen, the media would call us terrorists and obstacles to progress. But at the end of the day, the things that we would be blocking for would be wildly popular among the majority of people.
Absolutely, of course, yeah. I just I'm hopeful that, of course, this will come to pass. Who knows in the end what will happen? But I think those who, for me, it's really disheartening to see people completely dismiss this reconciliation bill as nothing and as a non-effort and as not important, etc. When we as leftists, which of course we are journalists, but we're very clear, which I think is very ethical of us, telling folks that we're progressives, we're leftists, and we tell you what our biases are, which our biases are things that help people, everyday people. So I'm okay with saying that. This bill, this $3.5 trillion would mean so much for so many people. And that's what we're supposed to be all about. So I think it's great that the American Prospect and the Intercept and the Daily Poster have done this kind of background whip scenario, I guess. And maybe we'll learn more. But I think I'm feeling kind of hopeful. We'll see.